Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Midwife. In today's episode, we'll dive into a topic that many of us experience but don't often reflect on: cultivating peace whilst awaiting our manifestations. And I want to take you today on a journey, one that helps us step back from the trappings of the physical realm, materialism, and the constant drive for more. You see, it's not just about getting what we want or waiting for it. It's about who we become in the process. Welcome to Spiritual Midwife, the podcast that tenderly guides you through the transformative journey of spiritual awakening and personal development towards the ultimate destination of soul sovereignty. I'm Claire Attio, a medicine woman and dedicated guide to the profound realm of soul sovereignty, and you are listening to Spiritual Midwife. This episode was actually inspired by a conversation with a family member, and we've all had those conversations, those chats that go sometimes lightheartedly, full of banter, but other times they bring up deeper themes, almost without realizing it. And this particular conversation was about a luxury item, something that a family member was convinced they needed. They weren't talking about food, shelter, or something truly necessarily. No, this was about an item of complete and utter indulgence. And whilst we joked about it, and yes, they have an absolute right to that desire, to that dream, to that aspiration, and I hope they get it someday, what I felt was the very real energy of need there. But it wasn't a physical need. And it made me wonder that perhaps was it an emotional validation that was needed? Maybe even the desire to fill a void. It got me thinking about how common this is in the world around us, especially today's world. We live in a society that constantly tells us that more is the answer. More money, more things, more status. And yet this endless cycle of striving leads to high levels of stress, mental health issues, and a constant feeling of lack. Even when we're on the path of manifesting our dreams, the wait can feel uncomfortable because we're so used to immediate gratification. But here's the thing: true peace, true abundance doesn't come from the external. It doesn't come from finally acquiring the luxury item or hitting the financial milestone. True peace comes when we take a step back, when we detach from the all-consuming materialism of the physical realm and look inward. And as I say that, I'm reflective of another conversation I had well over a year ago, and I was talking about some of my harder times financially when my daughter was young, and how I had made her Christmas presents. I'm fortunate that I do have the skill of sewing, and I made her outfit after outfit for dress up. And I got the little boxes in IKEA, and there's no affiliation. I'm not getting any credit for mentioning them. But I got the little boxes, and under the Christmas tree on Christmas morning, there was box after box. Santa had come. And it had been done on a budget. And yeah, I am going to be proud, but it was interesting with in that conversation within the circle we were talking to, there was a member within that group that said, it almost sounds like you're proud of being poor. And that kind of stopped me in my tracks, and it had me reflecting on my relationship with money. It had me reflecting on my ability to pull in abundance. And at the time, it was a really good question, because it had me being reflective and it had me reframe a few things. So that person wasn't wrong in bringing that into the conversation. But moving forward, having done that inner work that needed doing, that needed reframing, there is also the ability to allow myself to be proud, because money wasn't my wealth. My abilities was my wealth. My creativity was my wealth. We still had the most phenomenal Christmas. And I was able to create memories that are still stuck in my child's mind as an adult now over how wonderful that Christmas was. And that in itself is wealth. When we get these questions, when we're looking, let's not just focus on the negative. Be mindful to take whatever is presented to you and reflect on it. How does that fit? Is there any more work that I need to do? But also, don't be afraid to measure yourself and your abundance in ways other than the 3D realm say that we should be. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Today, we're going to take a moment to review our beliefs and values. And a great question to help guide us in this reflection is, where do I place myself on the Wealth Barometer, and why? And it's a powerful question, because wealth, as I just said, isn't just material. It's emotional, it's spiritual, it's relational. Ask yourself, how do I define wealth? Is it in how many things I own? Or is it in the peace I feel when I wake up in the morning? Is it in my relationships, my health, or perhaps my connection to the land, or to something greater than myself? Now, it's fair to say here, I want to acknowledge that this is not always an easy journey. All the best things in the world are never easily gotten. We live in a world that constantly tells us we're not enough until we have X, Y, and Z. The latest phone, the bigger house, the luxury car. It's woven into our culture, our advertisements, even our family conversations. The pressure to strive, to compare, and to keep up can be relentless. In fact, this constant striving is one of the root causes for so much stress and mental health. We become so fixated on achieving and acquiring that we lose sight of what really matters. We lose touch with our inner moral compass that guides us toward peace, harmony, and contentment. And whilst that might sound harsh, just take a look around, watch mainstream TV for 5 minutes and see what greets you. It's a barrage of messages telling you that your life will be better if only you had this product, if you only looked this way, if you only earned a little more. But is that really true? Or is it simply a distraction from the deeper work we all need to do? This is where the harmonic cycle of gratitude, flow and abundance comes into play, as opposed to the destructive cycle of materialism, stature and inner void. These two cycles are opposite, yet they are accessible to each of us, and it's down to us to choose which one we step on. When we live in the harmonic cycle, we allow ourselves to flow with life. We cultivate gratitude for what we have, knowing that abundance comes not from striving, but from aligning to our true nature. When we step onto this cycle, we open ourselves up to receiving not just the material things, but inner peace, joy, fulfilment. And this doesn't mean we stop desiring or that we live without comforts or luxuries, but that we no longer have them control us by the need for them. I did do a video over on the YouTube channel with our will link below that is called From Surviving to Striving to Thriving, and it does talk about that middle space, that striving, but it's learning to strive from a place of heart rather than a place of ego. Don't be deluded into the thought that your dreams, your aspirations are not spiritual. They are, even if they are rooted in a material desire. We have the right to those desires. We have a right to those aspirations. The concept of switching between these two desires is one gives us fulfillment, the other gives us lack. And it's understanding the difference within that. When we are in the harmonic cycle, we are striving, we are setting goals, we are taking steps in a positive manner to bring that manifestation into the physical realm. But it doesn't control us, and it doesn't give us a sense of lack. As the contrast does, the destructive cycle of materialism is rooted in a sense of that lack. It tells us that we are incomplete, that we must acquire more in order to be whole. And the more we feed this cycle, the more disconnected we become from ourselves, from our values, and even from each other. And I want to reiterate, I am not saying that wanting the nice things in life is wrong. It's human to have desires. The problem comes when those desires rule us, when we attach our worth or our happiness to having them. In that conversation with the family member, I realised that their need for that luxury item wasn't about the item itself. It was about validation. It was about feeling like they had made it, that they were successful. And let's be honest, isn't that something we have all felt at some point and can relate to? What I want to encourage you today, as you're waiting for your manifestations, whether it's a new job, a relationship, or a dream that you want to bring into manifestation into the physical realm is to step back from the need for things to define you. Reconnect to the essence of who you are. Reconnect with your inner wealth, your gratitude, your peace in the moment. The manifestations will come when the time is right. But in the meantime, I invite you to cultivate joy, gratitude, and peace in the moment, in the now. So as we end this episode, I leave you with this question once more. Where do you place yourself on the Wealth Barometer, and why? Reflect on that. Not from the lens of materialism, but from the lens of inner abundance. Think about my little story about the Christmas with my daughter. There was a wealth of abundance there, and yet we were penny poor. We have, even in those poorest moments, we created memories, we created joy, we created happiness. Allow yourself to rejoice in those moments. Don't diminish your worth because you were penny poor. You are already whole. We all are. We are all already enough, already abundant, right here, right now. Don't allow yourselves to be moved from that spot. Anchor yourself in that. And that's it from me on this episode. Spiritual Midwife signing off. Take care, everyone. Until next time.